So hopefully we'll get some big announcements.
But it's interesting because Masvidal just got called out by Nick Diaz. Officially.
I don't think Masvidal wants any of that, man.
Really?
Masvidal does not want any of Nick Diaz.
So the only thing that I think will impede the fight is Conor McGregor, because they've also been talking shit to each other. So that's always looming. But Conor McGregor's way better than Nick Diaz. Any of the Diaz's brothers. That's what I'm gonna say.
All I'm gonna say is Nick Diaz runs triathlons like I take poops. He runs like 4 a day.
Yeah.
His cardio is ludicrous. His chin's ludicrous. He smoked so much weed, it's impossible to detach him
but he has
from
so
his
much
consciousness.
He has so much scar tissue.
No, Nick has it removed.
Oh, does he?
So that's the surgery. Nick had the scar tissue removed.
Okay.
And that was the only reason that George won against Nate Diaz was because of the scar tissue. Nick has had the surgery. Nick has removed the only thing that George had going for him.
Huh?
So Nick Diaz, if this fight is made, which I hope it is because it's got a great storyline behind it.
Yeah, it does.
Who doesn't love the older brother, the better fighter, the man without the weakness, the man who's literally undergone surgery, had his face cut wide ass open in order to remove his one kryptonite, besides pussy fighters who won't actually fight him.
What was his last win, though?
I don't know. I mean, man.
I think
actually, you know what? I do know. His last one was an absolute legend.
Yeah.
A legend of the sport, BJ Penn.
Wow.
Multiple division champion.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Nick Diaz beat him.
That's crazy.
And dominated the fight.
What a fighter.
Because Nick Diaz is
in 2011. That's crazy. So he hasn't fought.
I mean, he basically beat Condit if Condit didn't run the whole time. George also literally ran the whole time. And Anderson Silva popped. So, like, I think Nick is actually arguably riding a 4-fight undefeated winning streak against some of the best fighters of all time and Carlos Condit.
Listen, George Masvidal is younger, fresher. He's on a tear right now. He fucking smoked Nate Diaz. And Nick hasn't fought in years, in literal years. There's got to be ring rust. There's got to be... I don't care if people say that ring rust is a bullshit, but it's not bullshit.
For Nick Diaz, it is bullshit because he is a born fighter. He fights and he grew up fighting on...
That's like saying Kimbo Slice could knock out fucking... Oh my goodness. Fucking DC or someone
Nick
like that.
Diaz doesn't have ring rust. He stays in shape by continuing to do strenuous cardio workouts by partying in Vegas until the early hours of the night. Mm-hmm. This takes a lot of work.
It does.
This move takes a lot of work. You know, these moves take a lot of work.
That move takes a lot of work too.
And I think, honestly though, in all seriousness, Nick has had the scar tissue surgery. He puts on a different kind of pace
How old is Nick?
Nate does.
40?
How old is Nick? Nick is 36.
36.
About
right.
prime.
Prime. Well, end of prime fighting years.
I feel like that's peaking. That's right when, you know, the brain's at its best. He's got experience.
I'm not a fan of the Diaz brothers in general. I think they're overhyped. I think they have this dumbass gangster 269 aura about
209, first of
whatever.
all.
And I'm from California. I don't give a fuck about Stockton. Fuck Stockton. I don't know. I just think they're overrated. I think they're tough. They have good chin. They have good boxing. Great, amazing cardio. But other than that, they're nothing special.
You just said, other than that, they're nothing special.
No,
but you literally listed the things that make them special.
But even their boxing is not elite. It's not elite. It's good for the UFC.
Well, their boxing, it depends on what you mean by boxing. If it's the ability to have volume, the ability to put pressure on fighters, the footwork to do that, the boxing to take and roll with punches so that their pressure and the force is being disseminated throughout their body instead of causing a concussive blow, then they're sure, yeah. If we're not talking about those things, their boxing's bad.
They're not innovators of the sport. Only besides the social media aspect and the fans that they have. Other than their fighting, it's very much it's a simple game plan that I think Jorge can he's just so even Jorge's boxing is way better than both of the Diaz brothers. And that's fucking Nate was getting lit up, man. He was getting fucked up.
That's because he couldn't see.
That's not
scar
true.
tissue.
That's not true. It was like watching somebody in fast motion against somebody in slow motion.
That's because, okay, here's the thing. Nate's made his money. Nate is...
Nick hasn't made his money.
Nick hasn't made his money. What money has Nick made?
Drug money, probably.
Now, Nick is hungry. Nick is motivated. He needs to come in and defend his younger brother. You know they have a bond that's insane.
Yeah.
Nick feels guilty because he's the one who got Nate into fighting.
Yeah.
So Nick is the one who got into it first, and Nate came along. Now George, it's like George's fought Squirtle. Now he's fighting Blastoise.
See, the thing is, I don't think the fight's going to get made. I think that Masvidal's going to...
Yeah, because Masvidal's scared. If he knows what's right for him,
No.
He's gonna avoid Nick Diaz. He'll
fuck up
he
Nate.
can't even run from Nick Diaz because Nick has better cardio.
He'll fuck Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz on the same fucking night. That's how fucking confident.
It's gonna be a Diaz sandwich 3-way.
Yeah. Oh man.
Nick Diaz all day, cardio too good, pressure boxing too good. Look what happened when he fought Stephen Thompson. Nate's not even a real welterweight.
Okay.
Nick Diaz.
When has somebody with good cardio and good boxing given Masvidal problems?
Stephen Thompson has good cardio and good striking.
Good boxing is
good striking.
I'm saying the
Karate
striking
is basically just Japanese boxing.
The striking of Stephen Thompson versus Nick Diaz is they're from fucking different planets.
I see a lot of technical similarities.
My fucking ass.
Here's one technical similarity. They both use their fists to hit their opponent.
Nick has the same problem of not checking kicks either, right? Right?
I mean, kicks are for losers. So why would
like Stephen Thompson, right?
and like Anderson Silva and maybe Carlos Condit, but that's arguable. I think the fight is going to be made. I think the storyline's too good. I think the fact that Nick Diaz actually wants to come back and fight.
Who's Conor going to fight in January, though?
Cowboy, I think.
Cowboy?
Yeah.
I don't want to see Cowboy get knocked out again.
Why not?
Poor guy. I don't know.
But think about it. If Cowboy is going to get knocked out again, at least he'll be rich from the Conor fight.
That's true.
And I would actually like to see where McGregor stands. And I think that giving Cowboy versus McGregor is a really good aspect of like, oh, is Conor a top 5 to 10 fighter?
Right.
And that is an important question you need to answer.
It is. And it will be interesting to see what Jorge says. My man, my Cuban missile, Jorge, the other Cuban missile. No, man. That would be an exciting fight. And like you said, it is a good storyline. I just think that Nick's going to get fucked up. Or he's going to pull out of the fight.
Even if that did happen, though, that just builds Masvidal more. Because I think Nick has this aura around him with fans now. I think his last fight has been long enough ago that
people forgot how bad he was.
He's got kind of a mythical fighter energy around him right now.
Yeah.
No, in all legitimacy. And his highlight reel is really crazy.
Yeah.
Like the man laid down in front of Anderson Silva and yelled "Paint me Jack" or something. So I think the fight sells itself.
No, I agree with you there.
I think the UFC and George would be stupid because like
who's a bigger draw though, Conor or Nick? Because I don't
think George is getting that fight right now. I don't think that's happening.
This is what, because I feel like George is chasing the Conor fight. I know he says like, oh, this little bitch isn't ready for me or anything like that. He's gonna run, but I think
is chasing the fight.
He is chasing the fight. I think that's the fight that he wants to make. I don't think he wants to revisit a Diaz after. I don't think he's gonna have another rematch with Nate. I don't think
he'll rematch Nate either.
And I think that I don't see it happening till maybe like after Jorge's next fight.
I think they'll do it now because I think right now is when the narrative
there's a lot
is
of
the best.
hype and stuff.
Yeah, it would have a lot of hype. I just don't think there's a better time to do it. And like we were talking about, there's really been no big events. And I'd say this would be like an A- level UFC event right now.
But it's like we just did the BMF belt.
Right, but then who better to fight for the BMF belt than the original BMF? Nick Diaz.
BMS. Listen, everybody who's a champion in the UFC is a BMF.
No, it's about attitude and how you live your life.
Oh my fucking goodness.
And
Drama.
Yeah, no, I mean that it's basically the drama belt.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the who's the most dramatic belt.
Yeah.
I think Nick Diaz fighting for the BMF belt is a great narrative. I think it sells itself.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
People love the older brother, younger. Like that's a very primal thing that people can get behind. That would appeal to casuals. Casuals love Nick Diaz.
But you know who they love more? Conor McGregor.
That's true, but George isn't going to get that fight right now. They're going to have Conor fight Cowboy.
Well, okay, so why wouldn't he get that fight? They're literally the two biggest stars in the UFC.
That's
right
why.
now.
So right now, UFC has been showing that they're being a little more conservative, protecting their stars right now.
Well, wait. Here's another angle. Okay, so the Diaz brothers are not controllable. What if Nick, by the grace of God, beats Jorge?
By my technical analysis, I think we've come to figure out
Technical
that is the most
analysis.
likely outcome.
No,
But-
it's not. But
Nick wins.
mhm.
It's just a BMF
It's over.
belt. Who cares?
but they're arguably Conor versus Jorge would pull in a lot more money than Nick versus Masvidal.
But if by some weird machinations of God and
Sure.
Cuban communist intervention poisoning Nick Diaz again, which is what happened against George allegedly, and Masvidal wins, then he just has even more momentum. And then if Conor beat Cowboy, then that would be a crazy fight.
It would be.
But I think the problem right now is I don't think Conor wants the George fight.
I also don't think
I
he's
think
very good at 170.
I think it would be dumb to fight at 170.
Yeah.
He's a
155er.
He's a 155er. I think he really wants. I think Conor's main motivator right now is trying to get the Khabib rematch, and beating George doesn't do anything to get him that. He needs to prove at lightweight. He needs to fight that. If he somehow got a fight and then fought Khabib, then I could see him fighting
So
George.
Cowboy can go back down to 155. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's the fight they're gonna do.
But that doesn't really do anything for Conor, though.
It establishes him. It gets.
He's not
him,
beating anybody in the top 5.
Cowboy's ranked pretty high.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think he's 5. I think Cowboy's 6.
Is he?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
then
believe so.
That would be good. But it's kind of not Cowboy's division anymore.
Right, but the thing is, Conor needs to prove. There's a couple things. For casual interest, Conor needs a highlight.
Yes.
Conor needs a win or a highlight because you can only sell the guy who's lost 3 times in a row, right?
For so long.
For so long.
Yeah.
If Conor loses his next fight, casuals are going to start dipping.
Yeah.
That's just how combat sports work. So Cowboy is ranked number 5. So it is a top 5 win. It's, I'd say, by far the most winnable fight in the top 5. So I think Conor will either fight Cerrone, Gaethje, or Poirier.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Because
Alright.
that's what he needs to do in order to try to get the Khabib rematch.
All right. But Nick is still going to get fucked up by Jorge. That's all I got to say about that.
When the fight gets made, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I'm just saying, George was so glad that he got Diaz out of there with the scar tissue. Because
He was not glad,
Diaz
man.
was going to come back in 4-5.
4-5, he had already lost 1, 2, 3.
That was his game plan, though. He was dragging George into deep waters, just like he does in his triathlons.
Of course.
And now Nick Diaz is going to come in, arguably the even more accomplished triathlete, and he's going to drag George into those deep waters.
Does Nate even do triathlons?
Does Nick?
No, Nate.
Nate?
I know Nick does.
Yeah, they both do.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that Nate got owned really, really, really hard, and I think that I do think Nick's a little better than Nate, but marginally. I think it'll be a more entertaining.
Are those the seeds of doubt beginning
No,
to
no,
sprout in
no,
your
they're
brain?
not. No, because I think that Jorge is just a way better fighter, and he's younger.
Mr. Split Decision.
No.
Until about a year ago.
Yeah, well now he found God through baptism, and he's knocking everybody out.